Also, I wanted to point this out, too, because so many local municipalities have been wonderful in trying to help small business in their communities. Newport opened a business assistance program. They're going to give businesses up to $500 a month to help them out. Covington, Montgomery, Blue Ash, Lebanon, Hamilton, all these towns have stepped up to try and get funds to small business desperately needed. One of those communities is Mason, and this is interesting because it is literally a dumpster fire. I was talking about the toxic nature of politics and how politics, since it became weaponized, commercialized, and monetized, has really caused a lot of problems in our society. I really believe that. The core political hacks and their supporters, their enablers, are really, if you look at the protests in Michigan, for example, 27,000 people there with coronavirus, pretty serious. And yet it's like, this is all a scam. Let's just blow through this thing. Let's get people back to work. Well, I'm sorry. When you're looking at pictures of people in Detroit hospitals that are stacked like cordwood on top of each other, it has, it's a disgusting picture. I'm for opening the businesses. I'm a business person myself, but what role do we get the politics out of this? And I think it's largely the problem. More evidence so anywhere else than in Mason, home of the 700 WLW Tower. Kind of been following this story for a while now, and it's interesting because they've been debating how to help small businesses. Now, in Warren County and Mason, a lot of money in their budget. Fortunate because it's a very, very well-managed city, generally speaking. A lot of tax money coming in, big and small businesses contributing. And now in the time of need, city council there is playing politics and essentially holding small businesses hostage. They've got the money. They even budgeted the money 2 or 3 years ago, and yet they won't give the money to the people who need it because some members of council think this is like welfare. Joining me on the show is Diana Nelson. She is a Mason council member. And Diana, I was watching. I wish I could play some of these clips. We're having technical issues this morning. I apologize because it'd make a lot more sense. And at some point I'll get that audio on. But we're having system issues this morning, obviously. And everyone's systems are a little overwhelmed these days, if you know what I mean. How are you?
I am well this morning. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's get into it. This was on Monday night. You guys had like a 3.5-hour council meeting. What happened?
Well, we failed our taxpayers again. We failed our small businesses. All of a sudden, it's kind of funny because, so originally we have a ordinance on the table to provide $500,000 of funding to our small businesses. And, it's funny because at first they didn't want to, our mayor didn't want to pass it because there were spelling errors in the ordinance. And that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And then our mayor claimed that, well, maybe we need to give them more money. And really, those were just stall tactics. Mm-hmm. She doesn't want the ordinance passed. And so they redesigned it and made it for $160,000 worth of gift cards. Now, $160,000 worth of gift cards for, we have 1,200 small businesses in Mason. I'm not sure that they would all qualify. You have to, be in good standing with your taxes and some other things. But there's approximately 1,200. So if you take $160,000 of gift cards divided by that 1,200, you're talking $133 per business. I mean, that's not going to keep the lights on.
The mayor proposed. So instead of, and this is the interesting part, because there's like, what, $1.5 million in economic sustainability fund that you guys passed like 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah, so it's actually $3 million.
$3 million. Oh.
Yeah. And so in 2018, we decided to budget that, create this account and budget it for 2019 going forward. So in 1 year, we were able to put away $3 million for this fund. And, this fund was for economic downturn, whether, the city needed to use it or for this very reason, we distribute it to people in our community who need it.
Good Lord, a government planning for a rainy day. That's so precious. Because nobody does that, right? No one goes, we better set some of this money in case. No one knew that COVID-19 was going to happen. I mean, you're probably thinking natural disaster, massive economic collapse like in '08, something along those lines. You weren't thinking COVID-19 2 or 3 years ago.
Right. And I was the chair of the finance committee when we put this into the budget. And this literally in 1 year, we were able to save $3 million. And now we're not able to distribute any of that out to our small businesses. I mean, it's really just a joke. It really is. And, I feel bad because we're completely failing everyone. It's our job as public officials to help our community and our small businesses and to keep the community successful with high property values. And we're failing. We can't do it. Why?
So I guess the question would be, Diana Nelson, do the people who are holding this up, would be the mayor and some other sycophants on council, think that this is not a real emergency? That, no, we're not going to spend this money because this isn't a real emergency. It's going to get much. When it gets worse, then we'll spend the $3 million we've already budgeted.
Right. And how much worse can this get? Really?
Not much.
You know?
Not much. What do you say to the small business owners in Mason, Warren County, who would be eligible for this money that, quite honestly, they paid into because this is taken out of tax, right? Comes completely from tax revenue. What do you say to them when they are now on the verge, many of them, if they haven't already, start closing up shop saying, I can't do this anymore, I'm going out of business? What do you tell them?
You know, my heart just breaks for them. All that I can say right now is I'm sorry, and I'm going to keep fighting. You know, there's three council members that are really fighting for our small businesses, while the other four play games. I mean, we've been talking about this for almost a month now. We waste so much time. We sit there and talk. That's all we do. In fact, our mayor came in the other day to a finance committee meeting with all these ideas and what we could do. No plan attached to the ideas. You know, you don't come into a meeting during a national emergency with ideas not backed by any plans. It's just talk is all it is. And it's
right.
wasting everybody's time. You know, it's wasting the city's time, too, because you've got all these staff members dealing with us, council members. There's like 7 kids over there. And, we're pulling that resource away from the COVID-19 issue here. So, I mean, it's sad. And think about it. If these small businesses don't survive, it's going to hurt the city, because if the businesses don't reopen, we lose out on the net profit tax, you lose out on the income tax that they're paying.
Right.
All this adds up. And
well, what about the investment these people have made? And I'm a small business owner. I know you're a CPA, and there's others who are small business people that, it's your life. It's everything you've worked your entire life to get, and you've taken the chance, and you want to realize and take a bite of the American dream, so that hopefully you get big enough where people hate you, like Bill Gates, like Microsoft, right? It's like you get Walmart, you get big enough, they hate you, and that's ultimately the American dream, right? And you take a chance, you open shop in Mason, and you think, okay, well, we're run pretty well here. They want to protect businesses. It's known as a business-friendly climate, Warren County, especially Mason, Deerfield Township, and then something like this happens. It's got to be disheartening. At this point, I think one would rethink about doing business or opening business in Mason. I've criticized Cincinnati long and hard about the Children's Hospital thing and others, but you know what? I got to call it too in my own backyard when I see it. It's the same thing.
Yeah, and it's sad. They want development in downtown Mason, which, by the way, we've tried to do, but, that's always another issue with, stall tactics. But yeah, I mean, if we want to develop it, we have to treat our small businesses well. We do so much as a city to bring in large businesses that we don't do enough for our small businesses, and they know it and they say it. So even if, I don't think $500,000 is enough personally, but even if, we were to give them this $500,000, I don't know. It just makes me so.
Well, you've got $3 million budgeted, and nothing suggesting just giving all $3 million away. But they come back and go, well, we're going to study what other cities are doing, like Hamilton and Newport, and see how their gift card program is working. And now we're some 30, almost 40 days into this crisis, and that's going to take another couple of weeks. And if they do approve this gift card thing, which isn't a bad idea, but it shouldn't be the only idea, you're telling me that the average business is going to get all of $133 in relief. Because there's 1,200 businesses divided by $160,000 divided by 1,200 businesses, about $130 a business. And granted, not all will take it, but still, I think it goes to show you that, you know what that is? That's insulting.
It really is. It really is.
How much more, the average business pays how much in taxes a year, or a month for that matter?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know that number.
I wouldn't either, but it's certainly a hell of a lot more than $130, isn't it?
It is, and it's not only do they pay, taxes back into the city, but they give so much to our community. You've got, I think, Bayshore Flowers, the lady there's lovely, and she gives gift certificates to, any kid or organization using money for whatever.
Right.
A number of those businesses do that. And, Mason's just unique. We have kind of a family community. Everyone kind of looks out for each other. And not to be able to turn around and fund these small businesses, is not what our taxpayers want with their money.
I think, by the way, on the show this morning on 700 WLW's Diana Nelson, she's a Mason council member, about the crime that's going on there and literally watching these businesses get wiped away because it's politics as usual. And I've said for a long time, and this is evident of it, that politics is getting in the way of us being able to live our best lives. And you see this here, your life's work, if you're a small business person in Mason, who arguably one of the most wealthiest suburbs, most affluent suburbs in the tri-state. All due respect, obviously, the Indian Hills and Terrace Parks of the world, but Mason's up there. Good schools, good tax base, all that. They've set aside $3 million in budget for the last couple of years for basically an economic downturn like we're seeing right now. And for whatever reason, the controlling interest on the Mason City Council will not release the money of some up to $3 million. Instead, they come up with an idea to kick the can down the road, wait another 40 days, and if it comes to fruition, do a gift card program to the tune of $160,000, which would put all of $130 in the pocket of every small business in Mason. So that $130 is insulting, and that's where it's at right now. One of the things I want to bring up tonight, again, I wish I had the audio. I apologize. Our systems are crapping out on us this morning. And that is, I guess, there was I've had Ashley Chance on, also a fellow council member of yours. There was a fight in the meeting. I know my name got brought up somehow. I got dragged into this whole thing that I'm defaming and I'm slandering and I'm slurring the four members, the gang of four that you're fighting against. What was that about?
Well, one of our council members' feelings got hurt.
Which one was that?
We've got small businesses that their funds have dried up and they're hurting, but someone's feelings get hurt. So let's talk about that for 15 minutes.
Right.
Put it aside. It's not about us. It's about us moving forward and bringing our community forward.
Right. Well, is this the guy called is that guy called that said basically he's called small businesses in Mason welfare queens?
Well, he said that was a bailout.
Yeah, he said, I don't want to give, I think in a meeting, again on the audio, I don't have it. According to Ashley Chance, he said, well, this council person said that, we don't want to give handouts. I have a problem giving bailouts and handouts. It's like, wait a minute. So you're equating small business with welfare queens? That's how I would interpret that, is going, look at these deadbeat small business owners with their hands out. Oh, we'll give them $130 in gift cards. That should keep the lights on. Did these people not understand how small business works, or how the very basic premise of economics?
No, and that's the problem with elected officials. I mean, I truly believe you need to elect officials that have business backgrounds, because if you run your city like a business, it's going to be successful. And one thing, too, is we, with this program that was originally put out, the ordinance with the $500,000, the city went to the Community Development Corporation and said, hey, can you guys run this program for us? If we want to put $500,000 back in the community, can you do it for us?
Yeah.
They instantly got to work. You've got on their board, you have an attorney, you have a CPA, you've got a guy who's an executive. And, they came out with detailed program objectives. They had the structure, the application process, how to promote it, eligibility criteria, and accountability for the program. It was up and ready to go. They had the website, they had everything. And, for our mayor to come back and say, hey, there's a dual motive here. They're trying to take the money and use it for their own personal use. And, that is not at all what was going on.
Wait, so you're saying you set this budget aside, and I'm guessing the other thing, too, is a number of the council people who supported the $3 million in an economic emergency fund are also on council today. So so essentially they're voting now against something they voted for 2 years ago?
Yeah, assuming that's
Does that include the mayor?
Originally.
Would that include, I don't know the timeline here. Does that include the mayor, who's the most vocal one about this, Kathy Grossman?
Yes. Yes.
So 2 years ago, she said, yeah, $3 million economic development. Oh, great. You know what? It's emergency. Yeah, good. 2 years later now, she flip-flopped. She went the other way on it. She's going, no, we're not going to release the money. It's a bailout, and it's a handout to small business deadbeats, is what she's.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
It's the greatest.
Yeah, she's trying to say, well, that should be used for city services. Well, we redid.
What services? I mean, it didn't snow this year, so we had, you got the salt. That's not a problem. Crime, really, it's Mason. Maybe there's a lost dog, a domestic violence. Occasionally someone gets shot, but drugs and stuff like that, obviously everywhere. But Mason, generally speaking, if you forget to close your garage door, you're not going to wake up to have your cars gone.
Right.
God almighty. Back to the Community Development Council real quick here, Diane. I'm all over the board. I apologize. Medicine hasn't kicked in yet. So on this whole thing, too, is like, okay, we set this thing up, and typically, I mean, it's a public-private partnership. The people who know most about small business would essentially be the Chamber of Commerce for Mason and Deerfield. They administer the program, and you guys hold the keys to the bank account. You have fiscal oversight, so for them to say that they're just going to, the Development Commission is going to take this money and run away with it and, I don't know, go have a pizza party or something like that is, first of all, that'd be a crime, wouldn't it? Secondly, it's not set up that way.
Right. Exactly. And I mean, you have to think, governments, at any level, they're not really equipped to act swiftly. We have so many rules, the political process, public, meetings notice, the administrative complexities. Pushing this off to the CDC would be the best thing that the city could do. The CDC knows exactly what the small businesses need, who they are in our community.
Right.
And we need to act quickly, and that's the thing. I mean, they already have this going. So the funny thing is you have, just quickly off the top of my head, you've got Troy, Hamilton, Springboro, Summit County. They all use their Chamber of Commerce to distribute relief to small
Cincinnati does. I mean, what's the banks and everything else? It's nothing new. It's like, use your Chamber of Commerce. You use CincinnatiUSA.com. They're wonderful stewards. They know where the money needs to go and what businesses deserve and which ones don't. You guys control the keys to the bank, and you vote on that and go, okay, you can have this money for this. I don't understand why this is a big deal. This is not hard. Why in the hell is it? I'm thinking about running for mayor, Diane. I'm going to take a flamethrower to that place.
Please do.
I'm going to unseat
some good leadership.
What's her name? Kevin? Kathy? Carol? What's her name?
Kathy Gross.
I don't even know who the mayor is in my own town. I don't understand how these people get elected. I really don't. This is the dumbest crap I've ever heard. You need some real leadership in Mason is what you need.
We really do.
Sloan 2020.
This is not the first situation that happened like this, but this is the first time that the community is actually tuning in and listening.
Lord.
So this is probably the greatest thing that could happen is they could see really what happens in city council and who shouldn't be on city council.
What a bunch of dumbasses. How do they even get to the, I can't figure out Zoom for God's sakes to get on the conference call. I don't know. Anyway, I got to go. Diana Nelson, I apologize. We won't have the audio. I promise next time we'll have it for you because it's really good. It's funny, actually, in a sad way. Be well. Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for fighting a good fight.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Scott Sloan Show, 700 WLW.